This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 299 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Bimeda Dewormers, Dr. Rose's Remedies, and TotalSaddleFit.com.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Wellington, Florida.
And this is Philip Parks from Fergus, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
And it's just us tonight.
Yeah, it's just us. That's
no
okay.
Glenn.
He's busy. He's a busy guy.
He's a busy guy.
Got a lot of shows to do.
How are you, Philip?
I'm doing good. I saw an interesting thing about you working your tractor. You went home?
Oh, my God. I was in Snowmageddon.
That's not how much do they have in Florida?
In Florida? I went home to Kentucky.
Sorry, in Kentucky.
Yeah.
How much do they have?
You know what? We get a foot. We get a foot, which is like unheard, and then like 4 more inches. So I somehow managed to, I was going home to, of course, see Travis and see Annie, my dog, and teach a clinic. So I had a whole couple days of clinic work to do. And I can tell you, I taught 1 lesson. I had like 20 scheduled. Yeah, it's awful. I feel so much for everybody up north. I really do.
Yeah, what about like in Massachusetts and Maine and stuff where they got feet, like serious snow?
And indoors, they're collapsing. And I tell you what, I mean, my face is chapped. My lungs hurt. I just feel for everybody. I couldn't get out yesterday. I was going to have to be in the airport all day. And I just ended up just going back home, which was nice to get an extra day at home. But literally my staff at home couldn't get into the barn. So it was a good thing that I was there. So, I mean, it was awful. It was really, 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 really awful. And I feel for everybody that's up there. So, Philip,
you got a foot of snow. You got a foot of snow, and it was...
Well, that's
what was the temperature?
When I left this morning, it was negative 13 Fahrenheit.
With the wind
Which
chill?
I can't... I don't know what the wind chill was, but I can tell you. It was really cold. So what is it in Canada?
Right now, Thursday evening, it's 11 degrees Fahrenheit. Minus 11 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind chill minus 36. So I don't feel for you at all.
Yeah, you don't feel for me. It was colder in Kentucky than it was in Canada, apparently. But actually, strangely enough, there's a wind chill advisory in Florida tonight.
Yeah, I saw that too. People were talking about it. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I feel for everybody. It's really, 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 really disgusting. And I hope everyone stays safe. I mean, I know there's barns and indoors that are collapsing up north, and we really, really feel for you.
I don't know and if we can do...
Yeah, if we can do anything to help here at the Horse Radio Network, feel free to send us an email, and we'll do anything that we can to help everybody up north for sure. So,
for sure.
I'm still good with my plans to come home in March, but I may come home in May at this point. I'm staying away. Yeah, for sure. Crazy. So
it'll get better soon. It'll be March soon, and the weather will start to get better, and we'll be okay.
Oh my gosh, it would have to. Well, we have a great show tonight, Philip. We have Devon Kane on, head trainer at Diamante Farms. She has been on the show a couple times, and she's awesome. And when Glenn was down watching the 5-star, she was his favorite rider. So I wanted to talk to her about her freestyle. So she's going to update us on how she and her horse are doing, and right after this commercial break.
We all know the importance of deworming our horses, and Dr. Ellefson of Bimeda Equine is helping us make sure we are doing it right. Listen for his 4-part series the first week of every month on this very show. I just wanted to remind everyone, if you are due for deworming, why not save a few bucks on the popular Bimeda line of wormers, including Equimax, Bimectin, Exodus, Exodus Multidose, and Equil. You can find coupons and special offers at BimedaEquine.com, including a variety of rebate offers from cash to free ivermectin. You can also get up to $2 a dose back for Equimax. And while you're at Bimeda Equine, get your free horse health record keeper, and you can just download it there. Plus, learn a bunch about parasites and deworming at Bimeda, that's Bimeda, equine.com. We at the Horse Radio Network all use Bimeda dewormers because we want the best for our horses, and we know you want the best for yours too. BimedaEquine.com, and tell them the Horse Radio Network sent you.
Well, it is our pleasure this evening to have Devon Kane, international FEI rider and trainer from here in Wellington, Florida. Devon, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Well, and it is your birthday, so you came on tonight. It's even your birthday evening. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Reese, are you going to sing to her?
The news. It's my birthday. It's exciting.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to hear me sing, but Philip, I think you've got quite the voice.
No, I think we're in the same boat here.
Yeah,
We're not winning the Equestrians Have Talent.
No, not.
I'll pretend like you guys sang.
Okay,
That
That was so great,
perfect.
guys. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, Devon, we have so much to catch up with you and your horse. You guys did so well at the 5-star, and I have to completely brag on you. And Glenn is going to be so upset. That was the weekend Glenn came down to visit and hang out with all the hosts down here in Wellington, and you were his favorite by far at the 5-star. So that's
so exciting.
So talk to
I really appreciate that.
You've been on a really big journey now with your horse. Starting in the summer, you went to Hubertus Smith's in Germany?
Yeah. And actually, we had gone the year before, and to bring my horse up to Grand Prix. Last year was our first season in Grand Prix. And so then after we did the first season, we did some CDIs and stuff, knocked some stuff down here. And then I went back to Hubertus to polish everything and really get our feet on the ground and get going. So we spent 3 months there training. My goal going over there was to show, especially in the CDIs over there, just to get some exposure and miles. But unfortunately, we weren't able to show. We had not enough of an injury to put off the training, but enough that I wasn't comfortable taking the horse to the show. He just had like a small sprain right at the beginning when we first got there. So that was a little bit crushing at first. But it ended up working really well. I mean, the training I did on my horse was super, and it was different than what I would have done had I been preparing for shows all summer. We got through a lot of really basic stuff, and I felt like I came home with a much better understanding of how to manage my horse. So that was really good. And then in the meantime, Hubertus was so wonderful while I was there. He felt bad after the horse got hurt and stuff, so he started giving me his horses to ride. So I got to ride his Grand Prix horses. And yeah, it was awesome. It was so much fun. It was like, well, I guess this is okay then.
So, Devon, if you could get into a little bit about what you were working on with Hubertus, or maybe just kind of what are his strengths that you were taking away from a summer's worth of training in Germany.
Yeah, I find he can connect and help me communicate with my horse better than anyone I've ever worked with. My horse is very, very hot, and he knows exactly how to manage him, how to keep the hotness, bring him down enough that then I can start pushing him and really ride him and get him on my side. And he's the one that brought my horse to the Grand Prix. I showed up like 2 years ago at his place with my, small tour horse, Desi, and I was like, hey, we want to do Grand Prix next season. I can do 6 1-tempies, and I have no passage. And within 3 months, we came home with like 15 1-tempies and ready to do the whole Grand Prix. So I think Hubertus' ability to take the hot horse and bring him into a controllable energy is really something spectacular. At least it works so well with my horse.
So what are some tips? I mean, do you have a specific warm-up plan that you do, or certain training style that helps you do that?
Yeah, well, my warm-up is really, it's very simple and basic, and it takes as long as my horse needs. Like, I just try to get him a little bit low, reaching through, really swinging it over the back and the trot and the canter, make him nice and uphill. He has to really, like I said, he's such a funny hot horse that I have to really make him a little bit low before I can bring him up and put the pressure on. So I have to really get him stretching and reaching and nice and low in the neck and the hands, like the exact right contact, and then get the back really through. And so Hubertus is just really good about that, really making me use the outside rein, using lots of bending, riding the corners, and then just taking time that, if it takes 30 minutes to get him where I want him before I start, the collected work or the lateral work, then that's what we do. So I like that he's just that regimented on, you have to have the right warm-up, you have to have the horse in the right place no matter how long it takes, and then you go on.
Now, how do you plan that for a show situation in which, it could take, 20 minutes or it could take 40 minutes? What is your plan to get going into the...
That was kind of the interesting part. So at the 5-star was the first time I've actually had Hubertus at a show to help me. I've never shown with him before. And so he came in the week before and schooled us at home, and then we went to the show. And he sees my horse, he sees him every day in Germany when we're there training, and he sees him at home and everything. And so he knows he can get hot. But I have told him how he is at shows before, but he's never really seen it. So he didn't really understand how hot the horse can get. Until we got to the show, and we came out, and he was like, how much time should we plan for riding today? I'm like, well, we might need about an hour. Like, we'll see how it goes.
Right.
And he's like, oh, no. And then we get out there, and he's like, oh, my gosh. Whoa. He's like, you said he was hot, but I didn't expect this. It's like, yeah, I know. So for the first day, we had only planned like 45 minutes of warm-up, and the weather on that Thursday was so terrible. It was
awful.
Like windy and these rainstorms coming through.
It was awful, yeah.
Yeah, my ride time got changed like 3 times. We were supposed to show at like 2, and then we were showing at 6, and then I got on at 5:30 or something, and then they held it another 30 minutes. So
it was awful.
It was just, it was just kind of chaotic. So even trying to plan a warm-up at that point was ridiculous. So that day we went from the covered arena warm-up to the outdoor by the stadium warm-up and then into the stadium, and it was just a lot for everyone. So the next day, Hubertus was like, okay, we're going to take an hour of warm-up tonight for the freestyle, which I thought was a little bit insane, especially thinking the last freestyle I had ridden with my horse, I couldn't walk him. He was so excited that we had to just keep going. Every time I tried to walk, he tried to run away. So I was just like, okay, I guess we're not walking in the warm-up. And so I was talking with Hubertus. I'm like, well, he's going to be really hot. It might be too much for him. And he's like, no, if it's too much, well, if he starts to get tired, we'll just walk him. I'm like, well, he doesn't walk.
So what do you do about that?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't really know what to say here because I don't think that's possible. But it worked. We took him out, and I just rode him. We just kept going and going and going and just making him relax over and over again. And after about 45 minutes of, bringing him down and getting him on my side, then he clicked over to where he was listening, and then I could rev him back up again and get him really going. So, I guess to answer your question, I plan a long warm-up, and then if I have to, I can walk around in between and stuff and just keep him listening and with me. But, with a hot horse, the best thing you can do is let him go and ride him forward and give him confidence. So it takes a little while to get to that point with him.
So as far as the test goes, what would you say right now would be, some of his highlight things, and what are some things that he's going to need to work on to get to the next level of scores and placings?
I think he has really beautiful piaffe. I love my horse's piaffe, and his changes are gorgeous. And then I've been really working hard to improve. The zigzag's been getting really good, but especially to improve the pirouette. That's kind of his weaker point. But last year, the pirouettes were kind of a disaster. I was just hoping to get through them. And this year, he is really letting me ride them, and we're actually getting good 7, 7.5, 8 on the pirouette. So I think that's a huge thing, and that's something that we can continue to improve. It's finally getting to the point where it's getting better. So I feel like that's definitely on the upswing. But overall, my horse is he's 12, but he's young for his age. And this is our second year, so I really feel like this last year, it was kind of keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that we get everything in the arena. And this year, he doesn't feel so green. I know I'm going to get what I'm asking for, and it's really just making it better. So I think just all in all, every show is just polishing it a little bit and then eliminating our mistakes.
So, Devon, talk to us about your freestyle, because it was for sure Glenn's favorite, and I think it's beautiful and it's great. So, Tell us a little bit about your freestyle.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I love the freestyle. It's so much fun. I got the idea. The music theme is kind of based off of the new Gatsby movie. The new, the Leonardo DiCaprio Great Gatsby movie?
Yes.
That just came out 2 years ago? And I love the style of that music. It was like techno swing kind of. Mm-hmm. And so listening to the music through the movie, it's one of my favorite books. So I love the movie. And then listening in the music, I'm like, this is really cool music. I really want to use something like this. And especially the Lana Del Rey music and stuff that goes with it. So that was kind of the theme I went with. And then Karen Robinson helped me put the actual freestyle together. And so when she came and I told her the theme, we started playing songs. The songs that I wanted to use didn't really work, but she pulled some songs out of her bag that were perfect and so much fun. So the whole Canner tour is putting on the wrist, and it's so much fun. I mean, we have it where like they're clapping and the changes and the music changes for the pirouettes, and it just flows really fun, and it's a really upbeat, swingy kind of entertaining music. I think I have a great time performing to it, and I think my horse does too. He seems to really like it. And I get comments all the time that the crowd loves it and really gets into it. And I think that's really important. That's what I'm going for.
It's true. It's really, really fun to watch. And you can just tell you guys are so happy and work as a team. And you can tell, like, he's having a great time. You're having a great time.
Yeah,
everybody's
and
clapping.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And then it's fresh enough that the music doesn't get, like, boring, and I'm not like, oh God, this song again. I'm thinking like when I hear it, I'm like, oh, this is my changes. Oh, now I'm doing this, and it's just fun. It's all around a good performance piece, I think.
It's wonderful. Well, Devon, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We wanted to check in and see how you were doing, and I've just enjoyed seeing you this season and seeing your horse. And so, Devon, tell people how they can reach you online.
Okay. We're on Facebook at Diamante Farms on Facebook, or Devon Kane on Facebook. And then our website is diamantefarms.com. And that has all of our information, information about the stories. We update with pictures and stuff like that a lot. And all the contact information is on that too.
Fantastic. Well, happy birthday again. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You guys too. Thanks again for having me.
Well, right after this commercial break, we're going to talk with Hillary Moore Hebert, contributing editor from Dressage Today, to give us an update on what's happening in the magazine.
Dr. Rose's Remedies Skin Treatment Salve and Spray are 100% all-natural products. They are anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. Dr. Rose's are made with all human-grade ingredients and are safe and effective for treatment for all manner of cuts and scrapes on your horse. And Dr. Rose's is the must-have product here at the Horse Radio Network headquarters to keep PT Scooter's delicate white pasterns free from dew poisoning and scratches. Ask for Dr. Rose's at your local tack store or feed supplier, or visit them online at drrosesremedies.com. That's drrosesremedies.com.
Well, this is our favorite segment of the month. Hillary Moore Hebert, the contributing editor from Dressage Today, is on to give us a monthly update on the magazine. Hillary, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you guys?
I'm surviving.
We're all. Yeah. You have a PSA for us though, because you had a little big incident today.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier, and Reese, who I usually is the nicest person and who could hate you, but I hate you right now because you're in Florida,
Yeah,
and
you can
everyone
hate her.
else.
It's okay. I do all winter.
Yeah.
All winter.
I actually secretly see photos of people in Wellington in coats, and I'm like, yeah, I hope you're freezing to death because it is so cold here. Actually, before I was supposed to be on the show, I was driving my tractor down the driveway, and even though we have antifreeze in the tires, it lowered the pressure enough that it popped off the rim, and I was stuck at the end of the driveway with a tractor that had a tire off the rim, and it made it so that I had to walk like a million miles, like I was Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
My God.
It was horrible. And you guys should be happy you're talking to me because I definitely was thinking about, it was getting dark and everything, but I just never would have thought about it. And you drive the bigger tractors around thinking that they're almost like your car, but it's, not
Tire pressure.
perfect when it's -5. So.
That's good to know. So what should you just not drive it when it's that cold? What did the repair shop
Yeah, when
say?
I talked to the repair shop, they said actually that a lot of people were having that problem. It's the same, in the winter you get in your car and it says low tire pressure, even though the tires aren't flat. The tire pressure drops down a little bit, and you just have to keep an eye on it. But also, it's so cold that I get the impression that you really should be trying not to drive it whenever possible when it's so cold out.
Wow, that is awesome. Thank you for that.
Stay
I'm glad
inside.
we're
Stay off your tractor. Stay
off your
inside.
tractor. Stay inside. Feed the horses. Yeah, I hear you. So Hillary, just to start, we'll start with the monthly update. What are we talking about tonight?
So I have plenty of things related to the cold weather, but not any more talk about tractors.
Okay.
And I wanted to start out, interestingly enough, this actually does connect because there was an article in the Dressage Health section about aging athletes. And this was really interesting, and I kind of knew this, but I thought that this was a really clear way to say it, is they talked about how your aging horses have just a harder time with their exercise capacity, and that they can end up with lower oxygen consumption, lower heart rate values, and fatigue induced at lower speeds during treadmill tests. But most importantly, in the winter time, it can be even more exaggerated because they have altered fluid and electrolyte balances. And so in the winter months, it's most important with older horses, just like with the tractor, to really pay attention to the weather, take it easy. And the rule of thumb is that slow and steady wins the race. So you don't want to start doing like this serious Olympic training right when it's the coldest time without really easing into it in a slow way and paying attention to, plenty of warm-up time, building in rest periods, and trying to do some cross-training just for that, so it helps.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah,
Philip, you know the most.
Yeah, and to add to that, we really watch hydration of all the horses, but especially the older ones in the winter. And give them a little electrolyte. I know we do it in the summer, when they're sweating a lot, but we also do some electrolyte help for them in the winter as well. But I mean, right now, to be serious, you're not training at all. It's just a little bit for exercise. None of the horses are doing any of the difficult movements. Not even a lot of lateral stuff. It's a strain on the body, right? And so we're just trying to keep the fitness kind of at a certain level and keep the training and to about half an hour and get the horses out of the stalls and just get a little bit done, right? So I think for sure, the older the horse is, it takes them longer to warm up, and especially in the winter, maybe your older horse, 15 plus, is just going to have a walk day. That doesn't hurt, and you get the training done when the good weather comes right back around, and not to rush it too much. There's no competitions, coming up for another month or 2 or 3 months actually. So it's okay. Take it easy.
What do you guys think? What temperature do you work? Do you really start to ride at?
Well, I mean, we go by Celsius here, so usually I'm not riding at all if the core temperature value is not the wind chill, but the regular value is below -15. I know I broke that rule a couple times this week just to get on the horses, and because they go a little bit nutso when they're not being ridden. They don't know why they're not being ridden. So, but and then it's got to be.
How cold is -15 roundabout? I just put you on the spot. You may have to do the calculation.
I have no idea.
We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah,
Hillary, how about you? How about you, Hillary? What's your?
So it's funny that you said that because I used to live in New England when I was growing up, and I had a lower temperature there, and I would be curious to know what -15 is in Fahrenheit, because it seems as though the further south you go,
the temperature, people change the temperature.
Yeah, because we did it where it was like our rule in Massachusetts was if it was 13 degrees, then we would not ride. And down here, we try to do it where if it's 20 degrees, then we don't ride. But I just looked up on the internet, and you stop at 5 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my God.
It seems
Oh my
like
God.
Yeah, that's kind of like, I'm not going to
every
get on the
two
horse
state
at all.
sizes
Yeah.
you go down,
Oh,
it seems
yeah.
like we're talking about 7 degrees. So it seems like, I wonder if the rule more, and I noticed this too, is it just seems as though sort of what's typical for cold in your area. And
Right.
for us, except for it being unusually cold right now, I mean, the reason that we usually don't do below 20 degrees is, first of all, like what you were saying, the wind chill makes it even colder. And second of all, that's just not normal cold for us here. So,
Right.
We'll do shortened turnout. The horses get blanketed up and a lot more extra hay. And a lot of people in the area, including myself, try to watch and do, like a hot bran mash or add some warm beet pulp just to aid with digestion. So.
Yeah, I'm 20. Last year I used to be 15, and then last year, between 15 and 20, there's a big difference. So our 20s are real too, and we just don't get typically that cold also in Kentucky. So I know I get it, but yeah, it didn't get above my whole trip. It didn't get above 15. So I was yeah.
There you go.
So
I think the other thing, too, is I noticed this the other day. Your muscles get so tight, whether you're horse or human, and I just reached over to get a half-full muck tub to empty out into the wheelbarrow, and my back was just so tight from being cold, I threw my back out, and I am strong enough. I can lift half a muck bucket full of stuff, but it just is that cold temperature, and I think it's back to sort of what I talked about with older horses too, is you need to have plenty of warm-up time, whatever that cutoff temperature is for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, if the muscles aren't warm, they don't expand and contract properly, and then you're going to create problems, So, lots of walking, lots of slow trotting, and just easy cantering, and then maybe work yourself up to something, but I mean, we have 2 Grand Prix horses here, and they haven't done any PF passage, tempies, pirouettes in probably 2 months.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. They'll get back to
they'll
work.
be
and-
they
be fine.
didn't lose it.
They know the tricks. They know the work. So, it's just all about getting done what you can and what's safe. So.
Absolutely. So Hillary, what's our next tip of the month?
Okay, so on to things related to the rider. I thought that these two combine very nicely. It's 2 tips for the rider, the first being from Suzanne Bundietz. And she talks about how she had an instructor talk about that when she was doing the collected movements, she should ride like she was growing the bones in her legs. And in half halts, that she should turn her heel slightly out and spread her little toe a bit sideways in her boot. And that would help so that the tiny movements that she did when she was doing the collected movement in the half halt would make it so that she was really connected with her pelvis. And that helped with her core stability. And I thought that was interesting because I think a lot of times we think about what you shouldn't be doing with your lower leg and kind of how to fix it. And I thought that this was an interesting thing to do. I kind of sat on a stool and did that, where I just tilted my heel in just a touch and just spread my, toes out to see what happened. And it just was an interesting feeling that I'm not sure how to recreate it without doing that. So I thought it was a neat exercise and a neat way to think about things.
I think it's important, when you're doing your half halts, I think a lot of people do it in probably a bit too much tension, and then they're really, pushing themselves out of the saddle. I think this is a good way of, you got to remember you've got to sit deeper to make the half halt so the horse feels your weight, into their back and onto their hind legs instead of, getting perched out of it and really maybe squeezing a little bit too much with your leg and turning your heel in and all these things that are not going to help with really, sitting very steadily in the tack and doing a correct half halt. So, it's a good little tip for thinking about, how you're going to ride your pelvis a little bit more and your core into the half halts. That's a good idea.
It's a good idea. It's good to. I'm sitting here trying to do it. It's actually. I always do that when you give us our position tips, and I'm like trying to do it. And you're right. It really does change it. So try it as you're sitting here because it will change your, especially as you open your little toe. So I like it.
Yeah, like you can't get your knee locked.
Yeah.
I think back to how I used to grip. I think a lot of us who started out doing jumping. You know, I remember doing little tests where we would take a dollar bill and put it between our knee and the saddle. Or actually, I did a Jimmy Wofford clinic where I had to jump this cross trail on the side of a hill out on cross country at Ledyard. He made me put my gloves between my knee and the saddle, and I had to get off and get them, and I dropped them like 20 times, I think. But it made it so I think for about 10 years afterwards, I had these nightmares where, you know, I would not let my knee leave the saddle. But it's hard to break that habit, especially if you've been taught to grip with your knees for other reasons.
Very good.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I think I remember learning to do that as well. You know, when you start out and then you spend the rest of your life learning not to do it, you know? That's tricky.
Yeah.
I love that dollar bill under the butt. That was I like that. I could win that one all the time.
Well, in Canada, we don't have dollar bills, so you make more money that way.
Exactly.
Gotta go with fives, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah. But you get the gist.
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
cool.
Very good. Oh, those are two. That's a great tip. How about the next one?
Okay, so on to your upper body. This is from Ingrid Klimka, and it's a write-up about her clinic that she did with Nita in the past November, and talking about fitness and balance with Cavaletti. It's a really good article in general. She talks about Cavaletti work, which I think is great for cross-training. Again, you know, for the older horses, it's a great way to get them moving, or any horse in the wintertime, just so that you aren't stuck in the indoor just going around in circles. But what I really liked is she talked about correct hand position, and she talked about that the distance between your hands should be about the size of one fist, and that she always wants to see the rider's thumbs on top so that they're like a roof when you're holding the reins. And she said that it's really important to do that because then the horse can feel the reins on either side of their neck to really know, you know, what it is that you're giving them guidance and support for. So I thought that was, again, an interesting thing where I sort of, you know, do it, but that's much more of a quantitative way to think about it.
So let me ask you a question. Was she had the one fist on all her horses or just more the upper level type horses?
Yeah, see, that actually I also wanted to know about too, because I was kind of thinking about it and it seemed like it was on the narrower side. But she said in the article that she felt as though when the hands are wide, the horse doesn't feel the rein and doesn't know where to go. So I thought that was an interesting question that I kind of wanted you guys to give your thoughts on.
Well, for me, for sure, one fist apart on the upper level horses. When I really bring them up, bring the hind legs under and bring them up to my hand, kind of push them up to the bit. And when Philip was down here a couple weeks ago, we worked on that and worked on my position that my hand still is kind of pushing a little bit forward in that position. But my younger horses, I have a tendency to have my hands a little wider. So that's my tendency. I would probably say 3 fists, no wider than my hips. But I think it's always an interesting discussion about width of rein. I think you ask 10 instructors, you'll probably get 10 different answers. So, but for me, I really like the fist apart for a really going upper level horse. And so when I really got the hind legs under, have them active, have them pushing up to the bit, have the frame up in more of a show frame, it will definitely be one fist. So that's sort of my take on it. How about you, Philip?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. I mean, for the 3-year-olds, there's no rule on a 3-year-old. You know, kind of the rules go out the window.
Stay on?
Because you got to stay on, right? And you got to steer, and you got to do this, you got to do that. I mean, you're always trying to strive to get into the perfect position, but you know, the younger the horse, the less experience. Sometimes you got to kind of get it done. And then for the upper level horses, for sure, it depends what I'm working on. You know, for half pass, some horses I really like to kind of lead my inside rein a little more open to check the balance of the bend. You know, as you're coming, you know, across the arena a little bit, I like to open the hand a little bit, give to the horse's mouth, and make sure I'm not, you know, in half pass and travers a little bit, because you know there's a tendency to hold the horse on the inside rein and use an indirect rein. You know, and that can be a little bit my own bad habit. You know, getting the bend from the rein instead of from the legs. So I open up the hand sometimes. You know, for sure in the Cavaletti work and any jumping, then I really like to have the horse really, in the tunnel, in the channel, right, and have really closed reins and let the horse feel that they have to stay very, very straight. So as a general rule, and when we talk about position, that's the ideal place when you're doing, when you're showing, for sure. But like I said, there's lots of situations that I'm not going to hold steadfast to that rule, and it just depends day to day, kind of thing. So
yeah,
Mary,
and
how
I think
about you?
Well, it's interesting because I'm kind of looking at the through the magazine as we're talking about this. I definitely noticed that her cover photo, her hands are not inappropriate, but I would say that they're on the closer side to each other for what I am, if you looked at the spectrum of what you'd expect for FEI. So, I mean, I would say that her hands, if she were to extend her pinkies out, could probably touch each other. And you can see there's pressure on either side of the horse's neck. Whereas if you flip a couple pages in and you see Charlotte Dujardin riding, her horse's neck is a bit thicker, and there's just no way that she could do that without it getting to the point where she'd be, having it almost bridge over his neck. So, yeah, I think it definitely depends on the horse. It's a tough thing. I mean, it's Ingrid Klimka, so we're not going to sit around and be saying that she doesn't know what she's talking about. I think it does definitely depend on the, the trainer and their perspective. And definitely I think with the younger horses, especially ones, that are a little bit more tricky to train, I've had a lot of success taking my hands quite wide with horses that have contact issues. But I'm not planning on doing that in a show ring. So, I think there's a time and a place for everything. It obviously seems to be working very well for her. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking here, even with Uta Graf in one of her DVD covers, her hands are not a fist width apart, probably more like two, they could probably fit two between them. So yeah, it just seems as though it's just personal preference in terms of your training approach.
Yeah, again, I think you ask 10 trainers, you'll get 10 different responses. Because I've had people ask me in clinic, and I always say, listen, your trainer's not wrong. It's a little bit personal preference and a little bit the system that you were trained in, and so I think you sometimes with that you have to kind of, again,
you gotta try different things.
Yeah, I gotta try different things.
Get on a horse and say, does this help or does that help, and then work towards what am I going to do in the show ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? How to make it pretty. So, yeah.
Like it.
That's great.
Love it. Do we have another one, Hillary?
Yes. So the last tip that I have is part of the series. It's part 2 about freestyles. And this one is by Axel Steiner. And I just thought in general it was a really neat discussion about how you judge a freestyle, the evolution of it. And I really liked this part that he talked about where he says the beauty of the freestyle is when a horse and rider have the technical ability not only to ride to music but dance with it, and they should be rewarded in the interpretation of the music. And I just think that it's really interesting how he points that out, and he talks about how, he's seen some really strong freestyles where you have your ear for your music, and you have the ability to ride your horse in a way that you can make quick adjustments to the variations of the music. And it made me think a lot about, this past year I went through with the freestyle all the way to nationals, and it got me to really think about the approach to things. And I know in the past a lot of people were kind of saying, well, why is it that you need to get a qualifying score to do the freestyle? Shouldn't everyone be able to do it? And I think that in the limited experience that I've had with the freestyles, it really is important to have a mastery of the level that you're riding at so that you can make adjustments. One example being the horse that I took to nationals. He was very spooky in the All-Tech arena, and I was familiar enough with the music, and I knew what I had with him to kind of avoid the section of the arena that he was spooking at in a particular direction. And I could adjust my choreography to be able to get those pieces in with getting a stronger, score from it because I wasn't aiming him at a plant that he was scared of. Instead, I could alter it and then get a higher technical difficulty score. But I knew my music, I knew the requirements of the level, and it wasn't something where it's like the first time that I'm doing extended trot, for example. So I just thought it was, really important that he pointed that out, because I think it's, to me, the essence of what freestyle is above anything else.
Well, and that's true. When you have the technical aspect for the freestyle, it works so much better. And whenever we're working on a 4th level freestyle right now with one of my students, and, freestyles evolve. And I think sometimes as you ride them and you'd have to take the risk, for example, we were trying to do some changes on a serpentine line. And honestly, we tried for a week to get it. And my client just couldn't get it. And we just decided, you know what, that's not a risk we want to take. We're going to keep them on the same, we put it back on a diagonal line, a little different than the test. But you could tell they're so worried about getting the changes on a serpentine loop that the quality was really going down. So, I think that's, as you work on freestyles and as you develop them, you have to be comfortable at the level, and you have to be able, what risks can you not take and what can you take? And it's a fun game, but it is a little bit of a game, like what's going to work, what's not going to work. And I think they're amazingly fun. We'll speak with Devon Kane about her freestyle later in the show, and it's great to hear how she designed it and the risks that she took and the music that she picked and really how she dances to it. So that's the beauty of the freestyles.
Yeah, you've really got to be. Oh, sorry, Hillary. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say really quick, I like to, if you guys ever watch those movies, it's always about figure skating, but there's always like the one move you have that if you go into the ring and you know that you're really confident and your horse feels on, that you can do it. And that, I think, is one of the fantastic things, is being so good, whether it's, figure skating or doing the level of dressage that you're at, that say your horse is on, maybe later in the season you could do changes on the serpentine, and that's like your one move that would make the Lifetime movie.
Yeah. It's true.
I like that thought. Yeah, I was just going to say, you have to be more than proficient at, you can't go into a freestyle with a weak point, right? Because it's not going to work. You have to really feel confident, and that gives you the ability to be able to dance with your horse a little bit, because you're very confident about every movement that you're going to go and do, and that you can execute it. If you're a little weak in this or that, it's just not going to work. You're going to be really worried about that one movement. It's coming up, the music's coming up, you ride tentatively. You can get away with it a little bit in the technical test, but definitely not in the freestyle. It just gets in your head too much, and it gets, and then you're holding the horse back, and the horse gets frustrated. It can ruin all that stuff that really is a highlight for you. You got to show what's good, and then you got to show what's great. Nothing that's below that kind of a level. So, yeah, I like that point, and it's good to have a discussion about it.
Excellent. Well, Hillary, as always, we love having you on the show. How do our listeners get in touch with you?
They can check us out at dressagetoday.com, or you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, everything. So definitely go and see more articles and everything while you're trapped inside if you're in the colder weather.
Exactly.
For sure.
Well, there's a wind chill advisory in Florida, so it's cold everywhere.
It's cold everywhere.
So,
yeah,
it is cold everywhere.
So 70 degrees or something.
No, actually tonight is supposed to get in the 20s. And it's going to be record-breaking cold in Florida, too. I brought it with me. But Hillary, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to next month.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.
Well, that is always my favorite segment. I always like to go back to the magazine after Hillary's on and relook at my magazine, because it's just a great way to get some more information in. So thanks for her for coming on the show. And so, Philip, you and I are going to do and talk about the Total Saddle Fit shoulder relief girth.
Yeah, well, we've each had our girth for quite some time now. How's yours holding up?
Love it. I love it. I still use it on Denali. As we all know, Denali is the most perfectly spoiled child on the planet.
And sensitive about his girth.
been very sensitive about his girth. And actually, he's almost perfect. Well, we know he's perfect, but with girthing, I have a new young lady who's working with me in Florida, and he was a little girthy the other day, and she's like, "Oh, Denali was girthy." It's the first time we've seen it in like 3 months. So really interesting. I don't know why that day he was a little girthy, but overall, it's made you almost couldn't girth him before our shoulder relief girth came. So it's really made a huge difference in his life. I love it.
It's great. And mine, I mean, I use it all the time and, like every day, but not so much right now because of the weather and all that stupid stuff. But, it's very high quality. The leather is awesome. No breaking, no cracking.
No.
It's been perfect. The buckles, it looks like, when you shine it up,
looks
you
new.
clean it up, it looks new. So
yeah,
I really like that about it because, you really get your money's worth from it's not a super expensive girth and it's holding up better than the expensive girth. So I love it.
No, I love it. And pretty much every girth we buy now is only a shoulder relief girth. That's all we buy now. It really has changed. And we really mean that. Philip and I, we talk about it all the time. So Justin from Total Saddle Fit, we love it. And
thank him
really
very
check
much
it out.
all the time for our girths. And
we do.
It's a great product, great company. He's awesome to talk to if you have saddle questions. Send him an email. Send us an email. We'll get him on again. He did a bunch of saddle fit tips for us that we played in past episodes. And for sure, he's open to coming back on the show and answering more questions if anybody has them.
Exactly. So let us know, totalsaddlefit.com, and we're happy to help as well.
Perfect. Well, Reese, I think we're going to get to a couple of, we've had some Facebook shout-outs and things to get to. So what do you think? That's a good idea?
Yeah, let's do that. You've got them, don't you?
Yeah, I got the stuff. So the first one was from Gemma. She wrote into the Horse Radio Network. She says she loves listening to the Dressage Radio show on the mobile app while at work or at the gym, but she's flown through the 26 episodes that are on the app. I guess that's the most that the app holds. So if she wants to listen to more, she has to go to the website for all the. You can listen to every single episode that. I think today we're at 299. You can listen to them all. They're all on the website, horseradionetwork.com, and you can go through, the dressage show and all the driving show, jumping show. There's lots to listen to, lots of hours. I know that Glenn has all the stats about, how many hours of tape or recordings there are on the website. So there's lots more than 26 episodes that you can listen to, but you got to go on the internet, and it's just not on the mobile app.
And I didn't know that. So that's why I was like, Philip, we need to read this one because I didn't know that either. So that was excellent. So I hope that helps, Jenna, and we're glad you're listening.
Yeah, perfect. And then we got a Facebook one. This is quite a long one from somebody from New Zealand, but we both thought this was interesting enough to read on the show. So I guess I can go ahead and do that.
Go for it, yeah.
All right. This is a listener that really liked the recent interview with Sunline Scores. We talked to them about ranking. They came up with a ranking system. This is a website that has all the scores from everybody, and they compounded them. And so this listener was reminding us something that she encountered when she lived in New Zealand. She was there for 3 years and had 2 kids, and managed to get showing in New Zealand as well. She says that they had a point system as part of their National Dressage Federation. It seemed to be aimed at keeping people from staying at the same level and winning over and over again, something I can see being a problem in a small island country with only 4 million people. She always thought it was interesting and could possibly be useful for the U.S. in this country, particularly with keeping 4th level horses from winning training level and 1st level championships. Each time you won or placed in class, you were assigned points that were based on number of people in the class, or maybe your overall score, she can't remember. However, when you earned 100 points, you were booted up to the next level. You had to show on the next level. That's interesting. If you bought a horse that was a schoolmaster, you can only show it down a certain number of levels, and I think it had fewer points to earn before being kicked up to the next level. I did hear a rumor that it was being discussed by the USDF. I haven't heard anything about that, but
I haven't either.
That seems like an interesting sort of idea. There were also some other interesting things about showing in New Zealand. I think there are lots of people who go and show in Europe, but until you've actually shown in a different country, all the little differences aren't something people talk about. A few of the interesting things at least from 10 years ago, she writes. Their judges don't seem to get paid. Entry fees were extremely reasonable. The shows I went to had 4 to 6 chain rings set up on big grass areas that many communities seem to have available for competitions. You would also often see jumping competitions set up at these places. Most of the people use horse vans instead of floats. They didn't put shavings in the horse area. When we arrived at the competitions, the first thing we did was boot the horses out, sweep out the manure, and keep the housekeeping inside the trailer. Everyone had chairs, coffee, and we'd go around and visit. That sounds like fun, eh?
Yeah.
Kind of like tailgating. The U.S. is great at tailgating. I haven't seen it at a U.S. show yet.
We need to start this, Philip.
Horse show tailgating. I think the eventers are the best. I think. I think they
tailgate.
Yeah. Apparently, one of the catchphrases, if you are selling a horse, that it's good to catch, shoe, and float. So the first week I arrived, I picked up a free publication that had horses for sale, and I thought the New Zealanders had an unusual fascination with floating their horses' teeth. Anyhow, some type of review on national differences might be interesting. That would be cool, hey?
Yeah, that would be really
cool.
It,
for that shout out.
Very interesting on how it's different. I
know
don't
different things in England. They're very weird in England, so they have little habits and for sure different sayings and things, about what to do. But I think, in the U.S. and Canada, what I've noticed the most from, visiting other countries and stuff is that we're so, kind of anal about footing and stuff like this, right? I remember in Europe, we were showing, top horses at national shows, to be able to qualify for the national championships, and they were on grass. Yeah. And you suggested something, you suggest that to somebody here, and they would freak out. I would never I'd never ride my horse on grass or whatever for a competition. That's just ridiculous, and everywhere else it's really accepted. I know that's a big difference between North America and everywhere else. We like our footings very perfect and this and that. Yeah. But we're spoiled
and what she's saying is to take the horses off and put them in stabling. A lot of places don't have stabling, and actually, my horses here are having to learn to kind of show out of the trailer. Yeah. I have a nice big trailer. There's no reason they can't. The eventers stay on the trailer all day, and down here, stabling is more difficult. So you can go and haul in and show your couple horses and pop out. It's actually much more reasonable because not only are you not paying for stabling, but you're not paying for the shavings and the stabling and all of that stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting, even here versus showing in Kentucky. In Kentucky, we have some local shows that we show on grass that you pull up, but they're very, very local. They're not, recognized shows. But they're super fun, and I think there's a lot to be said about that we definitely show a little bit differently in U.S. and Canada than a lot of the rest of the world.
Yeah, but it'd be great if somebody wants to write in. We can call all around the world and do interviews, no problem. So if you have some interesting things from your own country and things that you think you'd like to talk about, we'll call you. You can come on the show.
We'll love it.
We'll record it.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
It'd be awesome
that sounds like fun.
Other people's experiences and stuff like that. We'd love to talk about that. That'd be fun.
Exactly. Well, that was a great Facebook shout out. Thank you so much for sending that in. And everyone, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter @Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com. And my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors for allowing us to put on a great show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. And Reese, we're off next week. It's Para Week.
We are. It's Para Week, and we can't wait to hear the show and hear what they're talking about. So we will see and talk to everybody in 2 weeks. And everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next 2 weeks.